morning. We are going to start, so please have a seat. I asked to Mr. Lapopistelli to join me for the opening of this seminar. First of all, I'm Paolo Dermo from World Energy Council Italy, Secretary of the World Energy Council Italy. I thank OME for the organization of this seminar. That is another meeting that we are hosting this year to advance on the dialogue on energy transition with Mediterranean countries. The World Energy Council has national committees around the world in 80 countries, more or less. Today, I thank our friends from Lebanon and Jordan and Tunisia that will be with us to discuss the energy transition in the Mediterranean, and also energy companies from Italy that will contribute to the discussions in order to showcase projects and also visions on how to advance on energy transition in the Mediterranean area. So I will accompany you during this seminar as a moderator. So I leave immediately the floor to Mr. Lapopistelli, Chairman of OME, for a brief address to this seminar, and then we will have the speech from also the Chairman of PAM, Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean. So we will have a video message after. So please. C'è il tuo telefono.
Good morning and welcome to everybody here. I think that we will need special soft skill to survive to this background noise for the next couple of hours. So you have to try to remain focused on the conversation. That won't be easy. Luckily enough, I have only 5 minutes to not to make welcoming remarks, but just to say one thing. First of all, I would like to thank warmly WEC from Italy for co-hosting this seminar in this wonderful event. And I would like to thank also the structure from Paris of OME that has been, very flexible and quick to catch this opportunity to have this seminar. My basic point is the following. It seems to me that in the last 14 months, 16 months, we have come back again to the traditional trilemma issue. So how to reconcile and to recombine sustainability, namely transition, energy security, and competitiveness. From a European side, you know that OME is working, trying to bridge the northern and the southern basin of the Med. But it's quite clear that what policymakers at European level and at the national level are facing starting the second semester of 2021 is dealing with the energy crunch, starting before the war, but then rising up to the stars during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So I don't have to give you details about all the energy packages which have been discussed under the EU Commission in the European Parliament and also at the national level on how to reinsure an energy security after the progressive cutout of the Russian gas flowing to the European energy pie. Because we are in Italy, many of you know, maybe many others don't know, but this is the good moment to remind that we have been able as a country and as a portion of the European energy security system to be fast and furious in providing an additional southern route in order to replace the Russian gas. So even as a spokesperson of the company in which I work, Eni, we have worked a lot in re-strengthen our ties and bonds with Algeria, with Egypt, with Qatar on the one hand, and going south with Congo and Angola in order to supply LNG being able to replace the gas-through pipes that is progressively coming out from the Russian pipes. You know that the only pipe remaining in operation with a small flow of gas is the pipe that crosses Ukraine and goes south to Italy, Austria, and Slovakia. The pipe from Belarus and the 2 pipes through the Baltic have been cut out. But we need to think about the next step when one could argue that even this remaining flow coming from Ukraine and getting to Italy, Austria, and Slovakia will be definitely cut out. So there's an issue about energy security, and there's an issue about replacing traditional infrastructures, so the pipes from the North system, with LNG, and so the need for new infrastructure, like the regasification plants that we are providing now in Italy, in Piombino, and then in Ravenna. On the other hand, this has been, I would say, a good chance to reconnect the conversation with all of the countries of the Southern Basin. I said several times that during the first phase of the Green Deal and of the Fit for 55, my feeling, traveling frequently north and south, has been, the perception of an increasing risk of a divide in the basin. So the European bubble, or the European region or continent being obsessively focused on the first issue of the trilemma, so sustainability and transition, and the other looking at us sometimes, I wouldn't say not in a suspicious way, but not being on the same page. We were focused on speeding up the transition because we were taking energy security and competitiveness for granted. And then we acknowledged quite rapidly that the green transition that has been embedded in the Fit for 55 legislation and so on was a perfect strategy, but in peaceful and in ordinary times. So when you don't have any external constraint. But now we are living in a world with a lot of external constraints. So we need to realign the conversation, not only between sustainability transition and energy security, but also taking into account how the issue of competitiveness is affected. Because it's quite clear that when you are suffering high prices, not only for families, households, but also for industries, and the last resort comes from the national bazooka that you can put in place in order to cushion the effect of the high price. I mean, this can put in danger the European framework of energy security, but also the European competitiveness of the manufacturing system. So this is a complete new world when you have to realign the 3 corner of a triangle, keeping straightforward the idea that we have to transit from one energy model to another, but taking into account that you have to support this transition with a social consensus, and social consensus can come only if you ensure energy security and if your manufacturing system and your economic system doesn't go into a recession. So it's a big deal. You understand this is a big deal. And so it's interesting because this seminar, and I already finished my 5 minutes, I'm sorry, is that now we can focus with a very distinguished panel in the next 2 sessions, and listening before a keynote speech from Fabio and from the Politecnico to understand, 2 pieces of this new connection between the north and the south of the basin. And I could say that one of the 2 pieces of this jigsaw, so gas infrastructure, is more about the energy security, the issue of energy security. While the conversation about hydrogen infrastructure is more about the next to be transition. So we are dealing at the same time with the actual energy crunch problem, and on the other on how to ensure step by step the next energy system. So I think it's really tricky. It's a tricky debate, but I think that we have the best expertise this morning to confront and to compare some perception, ideas, perspectives from all of the companies that are working on both sides. The real system, the energy system of today, and the energy system that we need to put in place for tomorrow. So I think this is the best auspice that I could give you in order to launch, first of all, to hand over to the next two welcoming remarks, and then to hope that we will spend a couple of engaging hours in our conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pistelli. Yeah. Now I ask to start with a video message from the chairman of PAM, Onorevole Gennaro Migliore.
Even though I could not be in presence today because I'm in Kigali, in Rwanda, to attend the General Assembly of IPU, I wanted nonetheless to deliver a brief message to contribute to this important conference. In particular, let me thank OME's Director General Dr. Uda Halal and WEC Italia's Secretary General Paolo Dermo for inviting PAM to participate. Dear colleagues, today we are faced with unprecedented challenges, from the Russian invasion of Ukraine to droughts, global warming and extreme weather phenomena, and the debt and energy crisis. The Russian aggression has caused major disruption in our green energy transition plans, although diminishing a great dependency of many countries from Russian gas, also in our region, further demonstrates that need for a rapid energy transition, not only to mitigate global warming, but also to increase our region's autonomy and energy security. To this day, Europe's natural gas imports from Russia decreased by over 70% compared to last year. Nonetheless, Russia has managed to seriously threaten several European countries, including Italy, with a sudden stop of gas imports, which could have unpredictable effects on our economies. It is therefore evident that diversification strategies are even more needed to phase out Russian fossil fuels. In this context, PAM has been supporting the efforts of the Italian government aimed to replacing Russian gas supplies with the one produced in MENA region by PAM member states. International cooperation is indeed much needed, and I believe that the tools of parliamentary diplomacy can play a crucial role in this sense. Dear colleagues and friends, for instance, the EU Commission President recently proposed the creation of an energy union. At PAM, we have been advocating for establishment of a Euro-Mediterranean and Gulf Economic Community for renewable energy for a long time now, which will be able to further increase our region's resilience and independence. To this end, we must ensure that we support innovative projects and infrastructure plans with the new and effective pipelines to be completed in the enlarged Mediterranean area as soon as possible. In addition, over the next few years, we will need to massively invest in clean and renewable sources to be able to cut their production costs. That is precisely why we have not fully understood the potential of green and blue hydrogen, as well as the production of green ammonia. Not only it can be produced with near zero greenhouse emissions, but it also fosters innovation and lowers pollution. Should we be successful in this, we would be able to finally unleash the great potential our region presents in the fields of renewable energy. However, diversification strategies will require time and resources. Urgent actions must be taken to mitigate the effects of the current energy crisis. For this reason, we must accelerate on the gas price cap. And on this, we must find a European solution widely shared within the Union to cushion the impact of the energy prices on our citizens, families and businesses. Furthermore, at the national level, we need to work on the construction of new regasification plants, and we need to do it rapidly. Increasing the number of regasifiers in our country is a matter of national security. Dear colleagues, scaling up our efforts towards a more sustainable energy system will have a twofold intent. While ensuring to rapidly phase out Russian fossil fuels and increase our regional energy autonomy, we would also be able to mitigate the effects of climate change. We are all going to analyze in depth these issues very soon at the PAN Euro-Mediterranean and Gulf Economic Forum, which will be held in Marrakesh from 7 to 8 December, where I look forward to your participation and contribution. So we wait for you, and thanks a lot.
Okay, so thanks to the chairman. The chairman added a dimension to the dialogues that we are developing with the Mediterranean, the parliamentary one. So the World Energy Council and OME will join forces also with the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean in the next weeks and also months, in order to have a reflection on a Mediterranean energy transition checklist together with the countries from the southern parties and part of the Mediterranean. And so I particularly thank Pam also for this message, video message. Now move to the first session. This morning we will have two sessions. The first one is with stakeholders from the Mediterranean. So we have representatives from World Energy Council committees, but also we have a Port Authority of Livorno. But before we will focus on the framework, the general framework on the Mediterranean in regulatory issues and also on opportunities that the Mediterranean energy collaboration can provide. So let's start with the institutional issues. Regulatory is one in particular. I thank Fabio Tambone, Director of International Relations from Italian Regulatory Authority. And please, Fabio, the floor is yours for your address.
Thank you, distinguished guest. Thank very much for the invitation, Mr. Paolo Dermo. Of course, OME, PAM are historical partners of the Regulatory Association for Mediterranean, which is MEDREG. Our authority was a founding member of MEDREG, let's say more than 10 years ago, believing very much on the necessity of technical cooperation at the institutional level. Going back to what I was asked to speak about hydrogen, but giving the situation of emergency and giving also the very nice words of Mr. Pistelli, I would like to first pinpoint 2 or 3 issues regarding the existing situation of emergency. First of all, the role of public institutions. I would say that in this moment, Keynes' invisible hand is much more important than some years ago. So now we have Keynes' visible hand. And I think this has to be a strong message for the future. The second issue for me is public-private partnership. More and more, mostly in the Mediterranean region, but also in other countries, this comes as a necessity, not anymore an opportunity. So for the future, I think this has to be an invitation not only to regulators, but also to main stakeholders to be more attentive in understanding others' position. Regarding the Italian situation, just a couple of words. As Mr. Pistelli was mentioning, we work very well under emergency, which is good, but not very nice. And in this moment, SNAM, the main TSO for gas, has been engaged by the government to build up new 2 units, one in Piombino, hopefully, and the other one in Ravenna very soon. And our authority was called to, let's say, help the process. First of all, we helped for the storage. You know that Europe has put some, binding targets, and we are far beyond of the targets. I think it was around 70%, 73. Now we are already under 90%, which is very good for Italy. Secondly, we have put under the decree of 17 May of this year, we are working with the ministry to have a fund of 30 million euro for 20 years had been put in place for new regasification plant, which is an important indication on how much our country is pushing the system. Mr. Pistelli was also mentioning the very quick strategy we have put in place with historical partners. Algeria, first of all, 3 months ago, we have met the president of the Algerian authority. In Algeria, they have 2 authorities, one for the internal issues and one for external infrastructure. And they were very happy to see Italy very much interested in their country, but they also asked why now and not before, which is an issue for our strategy for the future. Of course, the Trans-Adriatic pipeline is another opportunity for us. So we are moving fast, and I think I come to the third point. There are 2 issues: one short-term and long-term. Short-term, it's all we are doing now. Long-term, it's a different issue. All we are doing now should be sustainable in the long term. That comes to also hydrogen, but also other opportunities. The sustainability, at least from the regulatory point of view, is the affordability of bills. And I think we always have in our minds to have this affordability point as a mantra for our action. Of course, now we are in a deep sea with this tremendous increasing of prices. We are going to face this winter period, which is going to be very complicated for us. You know that our government had put in place some consistent emergency measures to be applied. Hopefully the climate change is going to help us this year, at least for once, but we'll see. Coming back to hydrogen, just as a last point, I kindly invite, if we can go to, there is a document, no? Yes, but how do I move it on? If you only go to page 11 of the document, the issue of hydrogen, it's an issue that's been very, very much pushed before the crisis. There is also a European framework regarding hydrogen, very clear one. But of course now the situation is different. And last December, before the crisis, we had an important workshop in Rome with the presidents of the main South Shore countries, the president of the Authority of Algeria, Egypt, Morocco. And we met SNAM, we met Air Liquide, so there was a nice discussion on how hydrogen could be deployed in the next years. If you go to page 11, yes, I just wanted to point out a few points that came out from this meeting. Of course, the South Shore countries are very much interested in exporting the hydrogen source. The North Shore are more interested in creating a market for hydrogen. So these are the 2 main differences that we have seen, we have acquired in the meeting. But just to coming to the main points, we found that technology is an issue for hydrogen and security. So there is a big dilemma for technology and security. And I think this is an issue for research. And I think this is an issue that the South Shore countries are very much attentive to, because it's an issue that will immediately, once solved, immediately allow the rapid development of this market. Secondly, of course, market needs infrastructure. Infrastructure need regulation. So for the moment, our authority was not called still to have any decision on hydrogen. We are, let's call it at the window to see what is going to happen. But of course, we strongly believe that hydrogen is going to be one of a very important and future opportunity for energy market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio, for staying in your time, also less. So thank you for important messages from on the Italian situation, but also on the importance of hydrogen in a perspective of energy security. And also thank you for remembering us that MEDREG is an active member on collaboration in the Mediterranean area. So we will invite MEDREG absolutely, as we have done in other occasions, to join us in this exercise, Mediterranean Energy Transition Checklist, that we want to run into 2023. So now I'm very pleased to introduce Professor Ettore Bompard from Polytechnic of Turin Energy Center, that will showcase us in an original, I would say a very interesting perspective, the triangle of opportunities in the Mediterranean. So it's a study that they have run, and so please, Professor, the floor is yours.
So if you don't mind, I will move here, would be easier. So first of all, thank you very much for this invitation. I'm glad to be here today. And I will try to say something about what is going on in the energy terms in the Mediterranean. And I will try to face this problem considering a triplet of triangles. One is geographical, the second one is the triangle of the commodities, the third one is very well known, already mentioned by Dr. Pistelli, the energy trilemma. Basically, if we consider these three triangles, we can capture what is going on in terms of energy for the Mediterranean area. I also try to design some strategies. The main idea is the Mediterranean area, and this dialogue is basically a black dialogue based on fossil fuels. And we wanted to move forward toward a green dialogue based to renewables. This is the general idea of energy transition, of course, that applies also for the Mediterranean area. But in doing that, we need to consider this interaction among triangles. So the first triangle is the geographical one. Roughly speaking, we have northern, southern, and eastern Mediterranean that are areas in which everything, energy, resources, GDP, is unevenly distributed. So we have a north area in which we have a high economic development and welfare. If you look to the GDP here, you can see exactly from 34 to 4 in terms of GDP per person. Is not, we have a higher per capita energy consumption. Again, if you look to the numbers, you can see immediately how the consumption of electricity and energy in general is much more higher in the northern area. And then we have differences also in terms of energy and carbon intensity. So the northern area, that basically means Europe, is much more efficient in the usage of energy. You see the energy intensity is 6 in the northern part and is 12. So how much energy we need to produce $1 of our GDP. In terms of this dialogue moving toward green, you see that the large part of renewable energy sources capacity is located in the north, very few in the south. The triangle of attributes is very, very well known. Actually, it rotated because we were considering, as Dr. Pistelli was saying, that sustainability was at the top. So was the top vertex. Now the triangle rotated, and on the top we have equity or affordability, and of course security. So there is, let's say, a change in the ranking of the attributes we are going to pursue. And the problem is that these three different goals or attributes may be conflicting or coherent. Most of the time they are conflicting. So if you want to maximize one, you cannot do the same for the other two. And this is a way for which you need to have, let's say, a kind of balance and the policy decision making to provide priorities. Just to have a look to the triangle, let's speak in terms of security. As you know, the majority of fossil fuel production is concentrated in limited areas and in the southern part. And the northern countries are highly dependent. there are some numbers, 60, more than 70% for Italy, around 50% for France. In terms of greenhouse gases, the numbers are not very updated. This is the last one I could find. The weight of Mediterranean in terms of CO2 is 6%, and there is a huge variability among countries. So we have 1.5 ton per person per year in Albania, and we arrive up to 6 or almost 7 for Libya. The average emission of Mediterranean is around 4, little bit less, with a global value that is 4.5. The matter is that we have an allocation of finite resources with a distribution that is based on the willingness to pay, and that can increase the poverty of the countries. One important issue is that the southern Mediterranean countries are rentier state. They get a lot of their GDP from selling fossil fuels. So if we want to move toward green energy, we need to take care which are the impacts in social economic terms from those countries and replace with something else I will mention before. Okay, the second triangle is the triangle of commodities. This is a kind of underground for energy, and there are basically 3 commodities we need to consider: electricity, gas, natural gas and synthetic gas, and hydrogen. And you see that basically we can satisfy the same final use, lighting or space heating for a house or mobility, using gas, electricity or hydrogen. And so basically the question and the issue is how we do the energy cocktail for the energy transition. How we put together these 3 commodities that are competing for sure, but the issue needs also to find a way to cooperate. And this is the second big issue we need to discuss, also with reference to Mediterranean. We have not time to go into more details, but the issue of the energy cocktail, I think, is very important. And what is missing at Mediterranean, but we say world level, is an holistic approach. So there are lobbies for electricity, for hydrogen, and so forth. We need to try to put everything together. Just briefly, let me consider the 3 commodities. Mediterranean proved natural gas reserves are very high, almost 7 teracubic meter. They are in Algeria, Egypt, Libya. I will leave to you the slides if you want to have a look to the number. The new Levantine Basin is a new option, very important for in time of the crisis, of course, with Russia. There are 3 gas pipelines, and there is also another pipeline crossing the Mediterranean for the TAP. Altogether, I think we have now, I'm not sure if I'm right, 21 LNG terminals in the Mediterranean basin, and there is a key role of Algerian natural gas in facing supply issues related to the crisis for our country, plus I think 9 billion of cubic meters. Which is the future? So this is the present situation. What we can expect for gas in the future? For sure, gas will be important in the mid-term. With the traditional natural gas, there can be the biogas, so produced into the methanation process from raw materials, agricultural waste, manure, municipal waste, and so forth, and also the synthetic natural gas that is obtained by power-to-gas processes starting from hydrogen. It's getting more and more popular, this idea of wind gas. That doesn't mean anything, but okay, it's something that is popping up as something of interest. The second possibility of commodity is electricity. So, and the commodities are in terms of consumption, final uses, but also are in terms of energy vectors to transfer energy from the, basically from the north, from the southern bank to the north bank of the Mediterranean. You see here which is the situation presently. The electrification of North Africa is very low. The penetration of RES is very low. So you see 1% 0 in Libya, 1% in Algeria, 4 in Tunisia, 9 in Egypt, 20 in Morocco, while in Europe, with the exception of France, is more than 25%. In Italy we have 35%. So low renewable energy sources exploitation in the southern shore of the Mediterranean, and the dialogue using electricity as a vector is something that has altogether 5 gigawatt of interconnection. This is planned to be increased with a total value of around 20 gigawatt between the two shores, and investment with, hydrogen, green hydrogen produced through the electrolysis. We need to have, of course, we cannot have black hydrogen, is an important option. We have some problems, critical raw materials that can be a problem in terms of security again. We can use the existing gas interconnection to support hydrogen penetration with the idea of doing blended. And basically, the idea is that is very effective in comparison to electricity, because you can transfer a larger amount of power. 5% hydrogen blending, you can transfer power that is comparable to 2 high voltage direct current connections. So I went a little bit fast just to conclude, but these are the 3 commodities we have on the table. To conclude, I would say that the energy transition requires a new energy dialogue that, as I said, will be based on renewable energy sources. The electricity cannot ensure the complete decarbonization of the energy by themselves, but is needed an interplay of electricity that is directly produced from renewables with hydrogen and gas. The composition of the mix in each country is however influenced by several factors, and it should reflect the needs of the industrial player, and it has to consider the socio-economical peculiarities of the different countries. Each country has, and so it's important to see how to put together the 3 shores, the geographical triangle. Each country has to identify its priority with respect to the 3 attributes, and the idea is that it is difficult to maximize all the 3 of them at the same time, so we need to find a balance. In this multi-commodity framework, the triangle of the commodity, the possibility to transport a large amount of energy through different energy vectors allows for exploiting existing infrastructure and to diversify the energy flows among the 3 areas. And that can provide benefits to the northern shore in terms of energy security. From an industrial perspective, the presence of a well-established industrial sector related to renewable energy source exploitation and hydrogen production in the North Shore could represent a kind of flywheel for the whole Mediterranean region, and the installation of production sites in eastern and southern countries and the knowledge of the transfer processes could help in improving economic and development conditions. That's what I was mentioning. We need to provide to the southern shore something to replace the incomes related to the fossil fuels. The idea is that a collaborative industrial dialogue, not only political, of course, that is the basis, should be a good way to put together the triangles and to assure, respecting the 3 attributes of the dilemma, should be a good way to push forward the energy transition for the Mediterranean. I provided some numbers that I have no time, of course, to go into detail. I will invite you to have a look to these reports we do every year. That is NMED Energy and Mediterranean Italian Energy Report we do every year in cooperation with SRM, that is the study center of Intesa San Paolo Bank in Naples, and with the Directorate C of the European Commission. The first one was about gas, so all the consideration I briefly mentioned what year. The second one is on electricity. The third one is on hydrogen, and we are working, we'll be presenting the very beginning of December about biomasses or biofuels and synthetic gases. That will be the topic of this year NMED report.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your
Thank you, Ettore. Thank you also for contributing with academian perspective. I remember that in addition to Politecnico of Turin Energy Center that is in the World Energy Council Italy, we have also in CL, in our association that today is not with us, but launched the Mediterranean Energy Academy. So the academia will be involved in our dialogues next year also in the exercise that I have told you. So now move to the session of discussants. we have, I would say that we can have first our discussants, online discussants. So if you can introduce Francesco Alberto De Bari, Head of EU Projects and Innovation, Port Authority of the Northern Mediterranean. Okay. In this session, we will have with discussant, we will have an interesting perspective on. Excuse me. On how the. May I? Yes. Yeah, we can hear you. Yes. We can. So I say that we start with interesting perspective on port authority, also what is We have problem with connection. I would suggest to give the floor to the next speaker and then come back to Mr. Debari. So I introduce Dubi Yerber, CEO MD International from Israel, that is collaborating with the Port Authority of Livorno in some Mediterranean projects. And so please, if we can connect Mr. Debari.
Thank you very much hi everybody, and thank you very much for inviting us to this important conference. We really feel that this is a moment of crucial decision, not only in Europe but in the whole area surrounding us. And, there are a lot of happenings going on, and I think that energy and security becoming the main issues all over. As Pablo just described, we are involved together with the Port of Livorno in a special EU project to do with hydrogen belts. Before speaking about hydrogen, I just want to mention just what happened a few days ago. There was an agreement that was initiated by the Americans between Israel and Lebanon concerning the LNG producing from the Lebanon side and allowing the actually production of LNG along the north side of Israel and the south of Lebanon. And this agreement actually will bring, we believe, into some kind of tranquility in our area concerning these issues of energy. But today I would like to speak about the hydrogen possibilities and hydrogen future. We, together with a few companies in Israel, and as you know, Israel are very good in technology and security. We together build a program in which we would like to initiate hydrogen small valley centers in the ports around our sea. To see that we can contribute to creating some kind of networking of ports which not only will be able to use the hydrogen but also will produce hydrogen and will have the facilities to get hydrogen and send hydrogen if that will be their section or there will be their production there in that places. Can I show some slides, Pablo?
Yes, please, few slides because we have other two minutes.
Can you see that?
Can you hear me? Yes or no? Can you hear me?
Do you see the slides or not?
No.
Okay, let's leave the slides. What we actually organized here in Israel, a group of companies, some of them in the technology of the hydrogen, and some of the investment and the creation of energy centers. And we have a plan to go to specific ports in Europe and to suggest them to check the possibility of creating hydrogen centers and to, by that, building independent energy center which are not dependent on pipes or any other sources of energy, and that will be part of their own operation. Of course, if it not will be sufficient, they will be able to get some hydrogen facilities from other places, and if they would like to do some export of hydrogen, that will be also the possibility. In the project that we just submitted to the EU and asking for some kind of funds to do it, we are actually presenting a hydrogen corridor around the Mediterranean ports, Italy, Greece, Spain and Israel, and also some ports around us. And the idea is to be able to ship hydrogen, and we know it's not easy task to do, but we have a plan South east of the Far East, America. The idea is to start to see if we can create such a corridor that will bring over supply hydrogen along those places. So this is what we are looking for, and this is the plan that we have. Hopefully, we will be able to do it as soon as we can with the energy crisis that we all facing today. There will be one, not the only one, but one of the solutions will be this plan of hydrogen corridor that can supply, hydrogen from one place to the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give so thank you for your perspective and also on your specific project on the export of hydrogen to Europe. I come to Tunisia. We have the Secretary General of WEC Tunisia that is online with us this morning, Nabil Bouraoui. So please, Nabil, tell us about your perspective on the Mediterranean energy transition and also specific projects that you are targeting for advancing.
Good morning from Tunisia. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, for the first session, Politicized Financing Initiative, dear guest, I would like to express my warm thanks to the Secretary General of WEC Italia and to the Director General of AMA for this valuable opportunity to participate in this important event titled the Euromed Energy Context, New Interconnection for Natural Gas and Hydrogen. Tunisia, my country, has been pioneers in terms of energy cooperation between the north and the south shores of Mediterranean since 1983 without any interruption. I'm talking about the Trans-Mediterranean gas pipeline network that connects Algeria to Italy via Tunisia. It is an accord and sustainable infrastructure to which we are proud to contribute. Currently, up to 33 billion cubic meters of natural gas can transit through this network. In 2022, 22 billion cubic meters of natural gas have transited from this Transmed network. Dear guests, COP21 to COP26 and soon COP27 are giving energy leaders cause of reflection and sleepless nights. Our planet needs about 50 million tons of green hydrogen per year by 2050. I am convinced that Tunisia, my country, can make an important contribution to this green energy requirement, especially for the south shore of the Mediterranean and why not the whole of Europe. Europe, which is only 100 kilometers away from. In Tunisia, we have two invaluable assets: the capacity to produce green hydrogen in abundant quantities, the Transmed network I mentioned, and our infrastructure. Let me say that it's needless to emphasize that in the long term and with some technical infrastructure, the Transmed can also transport hydrogen. This is not a fiction, I guess. Dear guests, the nexus between renewable energy and hydrogen can be considered as an exact science. So, with 300 days of sunshine per year and a very well-specified wind atlas, Tunisia is well on its way. Dear guests, the decarbonization is inescapable for Tunisia, as well to develop the export of goods, commodities, and fructification of tourism. In Tunisia, we are committed to environmental shock. With our current infrastructure and prospective groundwork, I can affirm that the route of the hydrogen road is already designed with its deployment points. In the meantime, I hope and expect that Tunisia will become a hub for green hydrogen. This revolutionary, precious energy so much awaited. I think that the voluntarism and intelligence of the Tunisian actors are without uncertainties. Dear guests, I want to be short, but I want to affirm that you can rely on our small but generous country for energy transition. I conscience. Thank you very much for your attention and happy to
Thank you.
contribute to the discussion.
Thank you, Nabil. Thank you for your clear vision, your clear proposition. Can you hear me? Yes. So Tunisia, as an export country, so producer of green hydrogen, and as an affordable supplier of green hydrogen. So this is something on which we will continue to dialogue, and also I know that also Italian industrial expertises are useful for this dialogue. Now I move to, I would come back to Francesco Alberto De Bari, so we will close the online round, and then we will have hosts from the floor here in the room. So I will come back to Francesco Alberto. Can you hear me? Port Authority of Livorno. Is it online?
Just to tell you something about a very important and ongoing perspective, that is the establishment of the emission controlled area in Mediterranean. It means low limits of sulfur and then nitrogen oxides from shipping industry. And we have been talking about that for years. Meanwhile, all over the world, this kind of emission controlled area arrived, and ECAS, as they are called, were born, all under the framework given by the MARPOL Annex provided by the International Maritime Organization. And to cite some hints we had this morning from President Migliore, that knows the project we coordinate. This is a very special case of conjunction, the law of the sea, that is by definition a global law, and international environmental laws. Now, last December in Antalya in Turkey, we had a formal agreement, and a formal agreement was finally reached. And this is an example of maybe starting a realignment of discussion at Mediterranean level as a whole. This is what Mr. Pistelli was talking about. And I have to say that European Commission played a key role in that. Also, if there is an uneven structure of Mediterranean, as Professor Bompura told us before. And Livorno is the coordinator of a life action that has the goal to support policymakers, and in particular the European Commission, to define concrete actions needed to make the emission controlled area a reality. It has a lot to do with energy transition, because the technologies and solutions that can make an emission controlled area a reality are exactly the same, like LNG, and in perspective hydrogen and other technical solution that can structure an effective energy transition. So by December of next year, we have to assess technologies, define the financial tools and investments needed in the port infrastructure, not in Livorno, I mean, in all major Mediterranean ports, to understand what kind of effort we need to have from the public side. And then I would like to tell you something more, but I can write in the chat for the participants the website of the project. There is one thing I would like to say, a message. One of the goals of the action that is supported by the European Commission is to establish a knowledge center to raise the awareness on the issue of ship emissions and provide stakeholders with tools to make the right decisions. I mean, stakeholders both public and private. So we just started working on this knowledge center, but we will by sure try to involve World Energy Council and l'Observatoire de l'Énergie as partner and involve you in this initiative. For now, thank you, and have a nice work.
Thank you, Francesco Alberto, for also for your renewed proposal of collaboration. Now I will close the round of online speakers, so we can close this round of session, and I invite physically two colleagues from World Energy Council Jordania and World Energy Council Lebanon to join the floor with me. And so starting from first point, that is the same one that I asked to Tunisia. Please take a seat, and also a mic. I will start from national perspective. I will start from Amani Halazam from Jordania. A national perspective on energy transition in the Mediterranean from your country, and also what are the main, let's say, supply chain or projects that you are aiming for advancing in energy transition. Please.
At the beginning, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about energy transition in Jordan. Even Jordan is a small country, but I think it's a well-known country in regionally and international level as one of the leading countries in promoting renewable energy and transition toward more sustainable energy sector. By year 2021, the renewable energy sources cover around 26% from the electrical consumption in Jordan, and the remaining, it was coming from natural gas. It means 75% is from natural gas, as Jordan having a gas pipeline connected the south area of Jordan to north area and covering all the power stations in Jordan, and having also its own FSRU, which we use it for the emergency cases to import LNG to cover our needs also. We have around 25 gigawatt from renewable energy, and we have 5 gigawatt from conventional, all the conventional using natural gas. Government of Jordan made really a very serious steps toward the energy transition. And it's worth here, I think, to mention that the government of Jordan announced a new target for the emission reduction, reduce it from 14% to 31% on the current updated indices. According to our strategy, we want to reach to cover around 31% from our electricity from renewable energy by 2030. And I want to mention here that when I talk about renewable energy in Jordan, we are talking only about wind and solar. We don't have a hydro power station that can help for the flexibility and for the stability of the systems. Because of that, we are working now to make our grid more flexible by introducing a storage for our system. The first project will be from hydro pump storage. We are working on that to have hydro pump storage on one of the dams in Jordan with a capacity of around 450. That will help us to have more renewable energy, as we have a goal. If we can reach to 50% of our electricity to be covered by renewable, that can help us to produce also green hydrogen. We are working now to prepare a strategy roadmap for the green hydrogen in Jordan by exploring the local usage and also for exporting. We already signed a frame agreement with one of international companies to explore the visibility of having 5 gigawatt renewable energy to produce green hydrogen and export it to Europe. We are working for more electrification of the transportation system in Jordan. We are working also to increase the efficiency of our grid and also to interconnect our grid with other countries. We already have interconnection with Egypt and with Syria, but it's out of service, but we are working now to connect more with Saudi Arabia, with Iraq, and other countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mani, for your very clear exposition. You have touched renewable energies to 2030, 31% in the electricity sector, strategy for green hydrogen, electrification of transportation, also interconnection with Egypt. So we see that your roadmap is in line with the roadmap of the energy transition in the Mediterranean. So good to have you on board in this work, in this dialogue with the OME and World Energy Council. So I move to Lebanon with Hadi Abu Musa from the Lebanese Center for Energy Conservation that will provide us the perspective and also the activities in Lebanon about energy transition. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like, first of all, to thank WEC Italia for the invitation and OME for the organization of this very interesting seminar. I'm Hadi Abu Musa, energy engineer at the Lebanese Center for Energy Conservation. The LCEC, since 2012, acts as the secretariat of the Lebanon Committee of WEC and offering a platform for the National Committee to be developed through open discussions with key players in the energy sector in Lebanon. Throughout the years, the LCEC managed to create an encouraging momentum in the renewable energy and energy efficiency sectors in Lebanon throughout different initiatives on in the legal framework, institutional, financing mechanism, as well as capacity building and awareness raising activities, of course in partnership with local stakeholders like in the public and private sector, as well as regional and international partners, to come up with action plans and strategies for the renewable energy, especially for the renewable energy plans for the future. For example, we developed in partnership with IRENA a renewable energy outlook for Lebanon, and we have a target of 30% of electricity production from renewable energy sources by 2030. As well as, for example, we have many pilot actions implemented with partners such as CBC, and of course we have a very close partnership with Medreg, EBRD as well for the development of larger scale renewable energy projects. Recently we had a very severe economic crisis where we faced the true price of electricity and energy since the subsidies on energy were completely lifted. This somehow encouraged the or highlighted the importance of renewable energy projects and integration in the energy mix in Lebanon. So recently the government signed 11 solar farms licenses. We have a feasibility study of a CSP plant with storage developed in partnership with the RVO, the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. And of course, the recent huge opportunity we had in terms of gas exploration. Actually, Lebanon is only connected now to the Arab gas pipeline, where we can import or export gas from Egypt through Jordan, Syria to Lebanon. This new opportunity opens the door for very promising future in terms of gas supply, especially now that Europe is having an energy crisis and gas supply is being shifted from east to west to south to north, where the diversification is very important for the security of supply. But it also creates a new, let's say, risks for investors, where they need to guarantee having long-term contracts for the gas supply. Also, in terms of hydrogen, the Lebanese energy context is still kind of behind this implementation of this new technology in terms of plans and targets. But as part of the MENA region, which is a very rich region in renewable energy resources, we believe that we can play a leading role in the development of the green hydrogen market. But of course, being very rich in renewable energy resources doesn't mean that it can be easily developed due to the necessity of access to certain technologies, the current infrastructures, the cost of capital, etc. They are all very important for this, for the development of green hydrogen. And we are aware of the importance of the policy instruments needed for this sector in terms of the demand side, guaranteeing a stable and consistent demand in applications where hydrogen is needed with no drawbacks, and on the supply side where investment aid is of course needed to support the development or the installation of electrolyzers and for example tax exemption on electricity to reduce the cost of the projects and the cost of hydrogen contracts. One last thing, in Lebanon, as I said, we are still behind in this context in terms of hydrogen, but we still have these doubts in terms of the dilemma of maybe it is easier to export renewable energy, electricity from renewable energy. It might be easier to do that than to install new infrastructures related to hydrogen and have green hydrogen from the same renewable energy sources. So we will, of course, see how this will go on and proceed to know which technology or which plans we will move forward with. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hadi. Very interesting point on hydrogen. What is more convenient or more activable, I would say now, through technologies in terms of production of hydrogen and exporting it, or exporting electricity and with the renewable energies without producing hydrogen. So I would say that at the Mediterranean level, from the Gulf countries to the Mediterranean countries in the southern shore, there is a very high interest in hydrogen in general. When I hosted the first meeting online with the WEC Mediterranean countries, I would expect that that would have been much more interest on how to substitute foreign supplies from Russia with natural gas, but there is I saw and I understood that there is a very huge interest in leveraging on the opportunities of a potential European hydrogen market from your perspective. And this is the same in other countries that today are not with us, but participated in our meetings with the WEC Mediterranean group that is chaired by WEC Italy. So thank you very much. I don't know if you want to give a little more detail about specific project, if you are okay this way. Okay.
I don't think that there is anything, but I want just to focusing a little bit about the project that I said that we already signed a frame agreement with one of the international companies to produce green hydrogen. The capacity of this project is around 5 gigawatt of renewable energy. And we already start our roadmap strategy for the green hydrogen to explore the local usage for green hydrogen in Jordan. And the output from this study shows us that there is a big window to use green hydrogen in Jordan, in the refinery, and the fertilizer industries, as we are one of the companies who of the countries who have a lot quantity of phosphate and potash. Also on the heavy-duty transportation, urban transportation. Because of that, we believe that green hydrogen, if we can find a new solution that the cost for this will be less than the other options, we will have in Jordan a good opportunity to use it locally and to explore it also by having this potential from renewable energy.
Thank you, thank you. This is another interesting point, the use at local level where you produce hydrogen instead of have a supply chain that can export hydrogen outside. So this is something that is very much debated also in Italy on with hydrogen valleys. In these days we have also hosted some presentations on hydrogen valleys that have this aim to produce hydrogen in the same place in when you use it. So this is a very important point. So yeah, exporting is not easy. You have to build a new supply chain in many cases. So there is also the issue of blending. You can start exporting throughout the natural gas infrastructures that we already have. So this is another very important point. Okay, so again, thank you very much for joining us in Italy, and we hope to join you in your countries in next year, somewhere in your countries, because we are starting this work together on energy transition. And so thank you again. A round of applause, I think it's it's due. And now I ask energy companies, our the associates from World Energy Council, to join us on the floor. I thank you, Paolo. So Dario Soria, Director General of Assocostieri, Coastal Depot Association. Thank you, Dario. Roberto Panico, Head of Relations with European Union Institutions. Simone Nisi, Head of Institutional Affairs from Edison. Leonardo Brunori, Executive Vice President Energy in RINA. Michele Ziosi, Senior Vice President Institutional Relations Sustainability Iveco Group, and Domenico Maggi, Head of International Relations and Affairs from SNAM. So we are listening about countries. Now let's talk about the expertise from Italian excellencies, industrial excellencies that are on the floor today with us. And the first round I want to address with you, what is your, as company or as organization? I will start from the association, from Dario.
Need to use this.
Okay. No. Okay. Okay. So. Here it's better. Okay. Okay, so first issue, what is your view as a coastal depot association on the Mediterranean energy transition? What are the main, axes or pathways that you are exploring with your associates?
All right, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Dermo, and good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for inviting Asso Costieri for this debate. As you probably know, Asso Costieri represents in Italy the strategic infrastructures of energy logistics as the tank storage terminals you mentioned before, the LPG coastal terminals, the 3 LNG terminals in Italy, and the small-scale coastal depots. We also have in the association the producer of biodiesel, biofuel, biomethane, and important category are the ship owners operating barges for the bunkering. So, as you probably can guess from our point of view, transition is a big issue for us in Europe. So what we did in the last years was studying, trying to imagine what can be the realistic scenarios, and we had some doubts about the possibility that carbon neutrality will be reached in 2050, as at European level everybody says and everybody states to be. So what we did this year on the occasion of our General Assembly in Naples, we commissioned a study and discussed this study with our government. From the result of our study, which is the target of energy mix in transport in 2050, the result was that approximately 50% of the energy mix in transport in 2050 for this study will be based on fossil fuel like oil and fossil gas. So what we starting doing from this point was to concentrate on the role of gas for Italy, for Europe, and for the Mediterranean area. And our point was that definitely gas can be a very important energy source and energy fuel in the transition, especially now that things are changing very quickly. After the Russia-Ukrainian crisis, we are investing a lot of money in increasing the capacity of gas ducts and the LNG terminals. If you consider that now we have approximately 134 billion of cubic meter for gas ducts, for the 5 gas ducts that are actually taking gas to Italy, and in the 3 LNG terminals we have just a capacity of 16.25 billion of cubic meters, and the LNG terminals are the key to flexibility on the use of gas in Italy. With our investment, with investment of our company, not ours really, we will reach approximately 150 billion of capacity for the gas duct and approximately 30 billion of cubic meter for the LNG terminal. So the point is how to use this asset to create a spare capacity, especially in Italy, that can be useful also for reducing the prices of gas. We think that the prices of gas will go down in the next year, maybe not immediately in 2022 and 2023, but probably will go down. And also to use this spare capacity to create infrastructures that cannot be stranded assets, but can be useful for the renewable gases, as previous speakers said before. So to use them for biogases, for biomethane, for other bio-LNG, for instance, with the liquefaction, and of course hydrogen, because this infrastructure can be useful, for instance, also to take renewable and maybe also hydrogen from the south to north, as the colleague said before, as a bridge, and Italy is a platform, as you know, from the African, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, and so on, to the north of Europe. So this is our view about what you asked, Paolo.
Green gas is really infrastructures.
Yes.
Okay, I move to Roberto Panico, or Panico.
Panico.
Panico, Roberto Panico. a views of the TSO, Italian TSO. So we move on electricity infrastructures, interconnections. In the first round, I ask you your general perspective on the energy transition in the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much, Paolo, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, on the electricity perspective, as Italian, I think it's easy to think about Mediterranean for historical and geographical reasons, of course. But I live in Brussels and I work with the EU institutions, and I have to say that on that side, our approach is not so much south-driven. And I think in the current context, with all the geopolitical tensions on the eastern side of the EU, as Mr. Pistelli already said before, the needs in terms of energy security are quite evident to everybody. So I think we should more than ever look to this region, to this area with a new and a renewed perspective. Thinking about the goals the EU institutions are looking for in the short and long term, the MENA region, the Med in general, could represent the present and the future, because we have reliable partners that are demonstrating us we can count on them in this very moment. And they represent the future for the development of alternative energy sources, such as renewables, of course. And if we want to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and the Green Deal, we cannot walk alone. We need their help. It's not sufficient to rely on what the North Sea, for example, can give us in terms of capacity of renewable stored capacity, which is huge, of course, but we have also to shift our views on the southern neighborhood for new routes and interconnections, of course. And Terna and Italy in this context could represent a concrete hub, an important hub, a bridge between the EU and the Mediterranean area. Integration of the energy systems is fundamental to reach this, and we have to talk more about this on the European institutional tables. As Mr. Tambone said before as well, we need infrastructure, and infrastructures need regulation. As Terna, we are involved in MedTSO, for example, which is an important association which is trying to harmonize the rules for those energy systems. And we are looking also to many projects that could be developed on the northern side of the African continent, of course. It's plenty of interesting projects in terms of commercial viability, but we have to consider always a couple of walls, let's say. One is a bit the story of the chicken and egg, because we want them to develop renewable energy capacity to import from them, but they want interconnections to export this energy capacity they can produce. So we have to, and I move to the second point, the second problem, let's say, which is on the financial side. We have to have new instruments and to reinforce the existing ones at EU level in order to further develop these projects.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. Now I move to Simone Nisi from Edison, please. So Simone, I ask you the same thing. From your perspective as Edison, what are the main trajectories on which you are looking in the Mediterranean? We know that there are important projects for you.
Voila. Let me start with this point. If we had this discussion maybe 2 years ago, I would have said I think we should all together, I refer to European and national policymakers, the role and the centrality of the Mediterranean in all the energy debate and discussions. after, let's say, 2 years, anyone can say that currently the role of the Mediterranean and the role of the relations and cooperation between the two shores of this very important sea is considered, is recognized, and it's at the top political agenda. So this is the first point. Now we should, let's say, reflect on two main dimensions. The first one is a short-term need. The second one is more linked to what we could do in terms of perspectives, in terms of mid-long-term targets. So I'm here representing a company with so far as many relations and ties with different Northern African countries, in particular on the gas supply side from Algeria, from Libya. Till 2 years ago, we were one of the main operator in Egypt. We have a long-lasting presence in Greece. So I think that we should try to define more and more win-win solutions, as we have the technology as Europeans. We could help even funding some new projects and initiatives in the southern shore, and the southern shore has resources we don't have currently. So I think that even the new consideration by all the European bodies in terms of importance on strategic partnership of the Mediterranean could be a starting point to do something more. This is the reason why we welcomed the new, let's say, the very recently missions by the European Commission, for instance, in Egypt and in Algeria last week, as this is what we need to consider to invest on short-term solutions for the needs we have till in the next 5 years, and to try together to establish and support the development of the new green supply chains connected to the biomethane, hydrogen, by LNG. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Simone, for joining. Also consideration from Roberto. So a new collaboration is needed towards Europe and the southern shore of the Mediterranean. Now there is great attention on natural gas. So I will jump to Domenico Maggi, because we are talking about infrastructures, and also natural gas infrastructures are the more attention and more considered today. So your general perspective from SNAM on how it is needed.
Thank you so much, Paolo. Hello, everybody. So if you ask me, the view of SNAM to this respect is totally aligned this moment with the European Commission strategy. So in last May, the European Commission released the REPower EU communication. If you go there, you can find the short, medium, long-term vision of our company, but of all the also member states in our continent, and the main drivers and the numbers also. So to reduce the dependency from Russia and to pursue the energy transition, we should, according to the calculation of the European Commission, add on the table 300 billion euros. 300 billion euros, not only on security, but also on energy transition. At the end of the day, security and the energy transition are the same things in this specific moment. So we need 50 additional BCM of LNG. We need 10 additional natural gas import from pipeline, and we need around 100 renewable gases. 70 BCM from green hydrogen, 35 BCM domestic production, 35 BCM from import. So we arrived to the Mediterranean area, because to import 10 million tons of hydrogen, which means 35 BCM, you need to have this kind of cooperation with these countries, and you need immediately, in the short term, to have bilateral agreement. So it will be very important not only to define the new regulatory legislative framework for the new rules of a market like hydrogen that doesn't exist so far, but we need to start a bilateral diplomacy immediately to have a regulatory framework on both sides. Otherwise, we will take a lot of time to implement the import. So our strategy as an infrastructure company is really on the REPowerEU. We are working on renewable gases, hydrogen, biomethane. We are working to have the grid of the future. So to have the grid already available and able to transport green hydrogen. And we need small investments. According to the international standard, that is ASME B3112, this is the American international standard to define if a segment of pipe can bring hydrogen or not. According to this rule, in Italy, we can already transport hydrogen because our grid, 32,000 kilometers roughly, is 90% ready for this, okay? So we need compression stations, but the pipes are there already, ready for this. So this is, in a nutshell, what we are doing in this moment, what we are working on. And maybe in the second round, I will tell you something about the hydrogen backbone. We are working with other TSOs in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you for sure. And thank you for highlighting the really point of the bilateral development also on policies, because this is the point, for example, also for small-scale LNG that we have seen in the past with the ECA regions, emission controlled areas regions, in which Europeans were discussing how to have an ECA in the northern part of the Mediterranean. So this is not good for the demand side, because you will have demand only on one shore. So the theme is that prepare the framework for the demand. And so we have also received important messages from friends from the Mediterranean that they are also looking at how to build the demand in that countries. So this is very important. Now I move to Michele Ziosi, Senior Vice President, Institutional Relations and Sustainability, Iveco Group, because I'm talking about demand. So you know the demand. You know the demand, in particular in transport sector. So what is your perspective as Iveco Group on sustainable mobility in the Mediterranean area?
Thank you very much, Paolo, for the invitation today. And thank you very much to give the floor to the transport sector, because more and more, actually, transport is walking hand by hand with the energy sectors and the energy companies. So you invited us as energy representatives, so I'm glad to say that, of course, transport is very much linked to energy. Europe is going very fast towards the energy transition, of course, and transport is one of the pillars to get the decarbonization of the different sectors in Europe. And so we are doing our part, and certainly we really believe the Mediterranean area is a very important source of alternative fuels that could contribute to fuel the transport sector, to contribute to the decarbonization of the all sectors in Europe, including the transport. We build up our technological roadmap based on certain mega trends. Certainly climate change is one of those. Urbanization is one of those. And based on that, what we did in the last years is to build up a very clear milestones in our opinion, where all technologies could play a role, because we believe that technology neutrality is of utmost importance to reach the target of the decarbonization. So we believe that the efficiency of diesel is very much important. We are not among those that are demonizing diesel, because what is, of course, important to underline is that internal combustion engines could play still a role to to reduce CO2 emissions, particulates, and also noise. And the matter is what you put into the engines. So biofuels could play a very important role in that sense, as well as natural gas, also in light as a bridge to biomethane, which could be in light of the well-to-wheel principle a very important contributor to reach zero emissions in the next decades. So we are also working in electric vehicles, for light commercial vehicles, for buses, for heavy-duty vehicles, but also fuel cells. So hydrogen is going to be one of the most important assets for us to reach the CO2 emissions compliance in the years to come. But we are really much focused right now on natural gas because we believe it's a very important pillar, and also because it's a concrete solution right now. And certainly the Mediterranean area is a source, a very important source, and the sea, the Mediterranean, is a very important corridor, because in Europe we talk very much about corridors, and the sea is one of those that could contribute to link, the northern coast of Africa to Europe. And Italy could be a very important hub to dispatch natural gas also for the transport sectors. And this is basically how we see the energy transition. Yeah.
Thank you, Michele. After we will deepen on specific technologies, now I move on Leonardo Brunori from RINA. So RINA is an integrator of technology, is also a certification company. What is your perspective as integrator and also a certificator?
Paolo, many thanks. Thanks to the organizer for invitation. So you well established, expressed was RINA, which is the role we are playing in the market. And for us, the energy transition is a travel, is a journey. It's a journey that all the organization, all the world has to move forward. Okay, we know where we are moving, we know where we want to go, and how to arrive to the objective that the community has given us is up to us, to the players that are in the industrial markets. And for a competent center like us, that is a consulting engineering firm, we are the first consulting engineering firm in Italy at the moment. This is a journey of competence and capability. And competence and capability that have to move from and where the moment on the multidisciplinary approach versus the new technologies. And this journey we do with research, with innovation, and we do also participate in several projects. The journey, what we experience is a journey that has to be inclusive. There are no barriers in this transition. Where the historic barrier have been destroyed by the transition. So consumer and supplier have to talk each other, to align the needs of one with the others, and the production cannot be probably as it was before. It's no longer a single client-supplier relationship, market-driven. Okay, so there are barriers in the production that have been to solve it. How and where certain vector or commodities we have seen before, hydrogen, energy, power, can be produced, how and where they need to be consumed. So these dialogue lead also in what we are doing at the moment. Dialogue with the clients, dialogue with competitors, dialogue with manufacturers to understand with each other innovative, and play together on innovation projects, creating joint programs where everyone can lead this ability. Before I was saying we know where we were starting. Okay, this was what we were saying about this journey 1 year ago. Mr. Pistelli has very well expressed that even the starting point is no longer the same we had 12 months ago. Okay, so what we have in this journey to take care is we have always to be ready to the variability that are in the market. Unpredictable, always there. So, and what we perform is several activities on the gas supply, on the LNG regasification system, how to move forward versus small LNG projects, and how to have LNG as a fuel in the transport sectors, in the marine sector, in the industrial sector, even in Italy and in Europe, how we can use hydrogen to substitute the gas in certain technology on the transport itself, especially in the railway system or in the how we can move from diesel to hydrogen. We are participating in projects to move from fuel to electrical. We are participating in projects for cold ironing. And we are also participating in several other projects for carbon captures on the nuclear sector, the research, as well as in the ecosystem of the biofuel and biomethane production. So in this project and this journey, I think we have to be also comprehensive all technologies. It's a long journey. Each technology will have its own role, so we have not to be stuck in a single point. We as a company, we try to be open to evaluate the pros and cons of all different activities and technology there are.
Thank you. Thank you for this first round. I am very happy and I want to leverage your presence here for our work in 2023 on Mediterranean Energy Transition Checklist, because you are pointing out several issues that has to be in the checklist, also with the countries of the Mediterranean area. And so in the second round of the round table, we will continue on demand side with Assocostieri and in particular on maritime transport, because you as Coastal Depot are collaborating to develop, as you said, coastal depots for green gases ready infrastructures. So there are specific projects in the pipeline that are of relevance for the Mediterranean.
Yes, thank you very much, Paolo. Again, yes, for the maritime sector, I think that the good news for the Mediterranean area is that now in Italy we have solved the LNG chicken egg dilemma, to use or trilemma, to use another famous expression here in WEC, because now we invested in the possibility to have small scale LNG on the two coastal depots of Ravenna and Oristano, and we also will be able in next year to use the terminals of Livorno and later on Panigaglia to use liquid methane for the ships. The other news, which is the other part of my considerations, that now we have ships with LNG coming in the Mediterranean. We have more or less 10 ships which can use LNG. We have the MSC Europe, we have the Costa Smeralda, which used to refuel in Italy. We have the other Costa, I think it's Costa Toscana also coming. Then we have Caronte in Sicily. So we have ships using these. The third side, because I was talking about trilemma, was the bunker ship. But now we have presented 7 projects to the Ministry for Financing with the Fondo Complementare, and we also have some bunker ship that can be used for providing this fuel. So we have actually the coral methane, we have the bunker ship of Avenir for the Oristano project, and now we have other investment like the Kosulich, like the other investment of Pamfido. So we have many projects, and with the bunker ship, I think that the supply chain is going to be completed next year. So what we have to do now, as far as we have completed this, try to be competitive. And I think that, for instance, the ECA area in the Mediterranean, if it is for all the Mediterranean countries, can be a good point for having this supply chain in use in our area. I just have to remind me and to all the persons here is that we also have a second fund possibility, which is actual now for the decarbonization in the maritime sector, which is the possibility of using biofuel and especially biodiesel. Next year, we have a decree in Italy which states that we have to use a mandatory target of 500 kilotons of pure biodiesel. Now there are some technicalities to solve, but one of the target of this quantitative of biodiesel is the maritime and the aviation sector. So I think that now we have available in the maritime sector LNG, we can have biodiesel, and so we have time to invest and to try to be ready for ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, or all the other renewable fuel, in some cases even electric for short distances, in the next future for the other renewable sources. So thanks.
Thank you, Dario. Thank you for. I agree that tech, we said before, it's an important piece of the Mediterranean, for the willingness of other countries to enter in the use of these green fuels, starting from small-scale LNG. So the political collaboration, the regulatory collaboration, and also industrial collaboration are very important. Now I move to Terna, to Roberto. Please provide us some specific projects that you are following in Brussels, if I understood well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are working a lot on a specific project. As said, we are looking to many projects in the Mediterranean area. In the last few days, we launched an Italian project, which is the Tyrrhenian link between Sardinia, Sicily, and Campania, for example. And this is just to highlight the potential of the submarine corridors, as Michele was saying before, because Mediterranean could be a great corridor for the EU. And we are focusing, of course, on Tunisia in particular, with a project. There are many years, probably you know about the ELMED project, which is an interconnection between Italy and Tunisia through a 600 megawatt submarine cable. The total length on this interconnection would be 230 kilometers, equally shared between Italy and Tunisia, and could represent a unique opportunity to show that this is possible, to link those two sides of the sea with electricity interconnection. It could represent also the first concrete step towards the implementation of a real electricity integration between those markets. And it will contribute to the development of a two-way energy corridor, allowing the implementation of several other investments in initiatives in terms of renewable energy and infrastructures in the region. As I was mentioning before, the project will facilitate also the integration of new renewable capacity in the EU, which is good for our decarbonization goals, of course. But it gives us also greater flexibility, diversification of sources, and security of supply, objectives that are more crucial than ever now. This project is fully aligned with the REPowerEU objectives of energy independence from Russia, of course. And it can promote mutually beneficial partnerships. So in terms of climate goals, we expect a reduction, for example, of over 200 tons of net CO2 a year globally, and the project will contribute to strengthening the industrial exchanges also from the two regions, with positive effects on employment and probably migration, we hope. We are working very hard on these projects in Brussels as well, because many investors are showing their interest for this project, but we need also the EU to show their interest, and that's why, as you said, we are working in Brussels to understand what's the perspective of the European institutions, and if we will have the possibility to use the force, the power of the EU to finance this project.
Thank you, Roberto, for giving us a specific project perspective and how to start also collaborating with the Southern Shore in a practical way, in an infrastructural way. So I move to Simone. Please switch on the mic. So we have heard that Mediterranean is more and more, Mediterranean collaboration is more and more at the center of the energy transition and also for advancing on energy security, sustainability access, equity, excuse me. But where should we start? What do you think? What do your company think? Where should we start?
I think that one of the main consequences or outcome of the new global and international environment is the fact that the topic of infrastructures and infrastructural development have regained a very central role in the institutional political debate. This is very true for Italy, but I think this is true even for Europe. I strongly believe that infrastructures create conditions to new links, new ties that are industrial, are in the domain of energy in our case, but are even can contribute to create even new social and economic effects on all the involved parties. This is one of the reasons why my company believes that current infrastructural developments could even be future-proof. We should be, let's say, ready to update or somehow reconvert existing and under development infrastructures to the, let's say, new vision of the decarbonization and of the energy systems. We have, as Assocostieri was saying, a few years ago we decided to start up a very, let's say, a project that at the time was a bit complicated to develop a supply chain for small-scale LNG in Italy. So we have started, and currently we have one depot in operation, one under development already authorized in the south of Italy. And we can say that all these new developments together with the vessel that link the different depots could help not only the security of supply of the Italian energy system, but even new links between, for instance, in our case, Spain, Italy, and other potential LNG terminal in Europe. This fact is true even for the new for the pipeline we are trying to develop from DISMED, which in our view should be originally hydrogen ready. This means that all this infrastructural development in let's say a 15-20 year time frame could support the path to the decarbonization and to net zero. So we are trying to contribute to this important European effort, and we think that the Mediterranean is the right place to try to cooperate at the best level. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. So start from infrastructures and start from upgrading infrastructure projects in order to advance on the energy transition. I come back to, so we are on infrastructure, so I come back to SNAM. And please, before you have said impressive numbers, you have told us impressive numbers on what it means, energy transition in terms of numbers. So you are working, I know, in Greece and around the Mediterranean, also, I would say also around the world. in advancing in infrastructures that are also ready for transition. So please provide us some insights on your projects.
Thank you again, Paolo. So yeah, everybody knows, I think, in this room, what we are doing in terms of security. So the two FSRUs in Piombino and Ravenna, the expansion of TAP from Azerbaijan to Puglia, that should be ready if the market test will be positive by 2027, the reinforcement of the Adriatic grid, but this is about natural gas. In parallel, we are working to secure the continent in terms of the grids of the future. So we are working on a project with other 31 TSOs in Europe to have a hydrogen backbone, which according to our analysis should be of 52,000 kilometers by 2040. So 52,000 kilometers. This project foreseen 5 corridors, and one of these 5 corridors is the Corridor A from North Africa, Tunisia in particular, to Italy. This will be able to satisfy the industrial demand of north of Italy, Austria, and Germany in terms of liquid hydrogen. So in the medium long term, we can be the hub of hydrogen also for Northern Europe, to provide transition, but at the same time also security, because that will be the security in the future. So the satisfaction of hydrogen demand. Of course, in parallel, we are continuing to invest in biomethane, and we are working with the European Commission, in particular the EVP Timmermans and the Commissioner for Energy Simpson, on the BIP, the Biomethane Industrial Partnership. This will implement the target of REPowerEU for biomethane, 35 BCM by 2030. We're going to start the work at the end of October with Timmermans and Simpson, and we hope in a couple of years to have national strategies in order to reach this goal of biomethane together. So this is a bit on hydrogen and biomethane, what we are working on in this moment.
So in addition to energy security for gas, hydrogen, biomethane, also this important corridor from Tunisia to Italy. So these are very important evolution for the Mediterranean energy transition. Thank you for telling us about also the grids of the future initiative. I saw a wonderful photo in Europe with the gas operators. So, Michele, I come back to you again. You are on the side of demand. For example, in particular on natural gas and hydrogen, what are you aiming in terms of technologies and also providing to consumers in transport?
Yeah, thank you very much, Paolo, for the question. For many years we spoke about natural gas, so today I want to focus the last 2 minutes on hydrogen, and which could be, I mean, the lever for the uptake of this technology in the transport sectors. To us, the lighthouse is the so-called integrated approach, where all stakeholders involved are working together to reach the target of having these vehicles in the market and available for the customers. So for talking about us, we're going to provide by 2024 a new vehicles, long-haul trucks that could be powered by fuel cell, and 1 year later we're going to have probably light commercial vehicles running on fuel cell as well. On the side of fuel supplier, we expect low carbon hydrogen at a cost-effective price for the final customer. So, we believe that the Mediterranean area could be an important source of clean hydrogen, and certainly Italy could be a hub for dispatching this hydrogen, as well as we believe that the infrastructure for refilling the vehicles is of utmost importance, and we are very pleased about the result of the last vote at the European Parliament on the so-called Directive EFIR, because I mean the number of refilling stations devoted to hydrogen has been increased compared to what has been even proposed by the European Commission. So we're gonna really wanna see in the plenary in the European Parliament a final vote confirming what has been voted in the committee. Also, the role of policymakers is going to be very important, because in order to reach the diesel parity in terms of total cost of ownership, it's very much important that for the very beginning some support, I would say subsidies for the final customer is provided, since the cost of those vehicles is certainly higher, as well as the price of fuel. But also the regulators have been evocated by someone that regulators should also provide quick administrative process, and also some requirement that could be allow all kind of vehicles to be refilled by the infrastructure. So the level of bars that could be differentiated between cars and trucks, etc. So I think an integrated approach is the answer for the uptake of vehicles, zero emission vehicles.
Thank you, Michele, also for not the news, but we know that, but it is important to already remember that Iveco Group is launching, if I'm right, a tractor that will run on hydrogen in 2024 on the market. So it is important that you are moving on, also providing to the demand this new option. Okay, so we are going to close the session. Again with Leonardo Brunori from RINA. So I would say that after we will have conclusion from the Director General of OME, Uda Jean-Benet-Halal, that is connected with us. But I would say that an integrator of technology is the best person to close the round table. So we have listened a lot of solutions on the table. You have also told us that the transition is a journey. It's not something that happens now, immediately. So please provide us what are specific projects, or how do you see these different technologies integrate?
Okay, so the integration between the different technology, I think we have already discussed before. There is room for all the technologies at the moment in the market. What I want to stress is we need also to innovate. So we cannot say the technology is mature enough for the transition. There is a lot of space for the innovation in this respect, on the material side, on the capability of transports, on several aspects. And this is one of the reasons why we are, as a company, participating in almost 70 joint projects in the research. And we are leading 20 of that. And here we are presenting in this exhibition one of these, is Everywhere. It's a project we did with 16 companies from 6 different countries in Europe. The aim of the project was to make hydrogen sustainable and affordable in the use in city, in particular needs where there is specific need for energy, like an exhibition, like a concert, like a sport event. So here at the booth 31 outside, we show our genset demonstrator. Is powered produce a generator that is working on hydrogen and fuel cell technologies and provide 25 kilowatt energy. It was used in MotoGP in Aragon to give power to the big screen, and was used in concert, and now is part of the project is to go around different exhibitions to show how it works, and is a practical example how we can go forward in producing power through hydrogen in a green energy.
Thank you for introducing this other important point. The demand has to know that there are solutions. We need not only technology but also to innovate to bring to the demand the solutions. And also I would add, and together with academia we are working on that, there is also been a need for literacy in general for the demand. So if we want to involve demand, we need to build also a literacy, a common literacy. Otherwise, it is difficult to also communicate something to people. For example, today everyone asks about why the gas prices are going up and down, and electricity, for example, is only going on. So there is a need for literacy, and diffusion of culture also on energy in general towards the demand. Okay, so I thank you very much, and I have taken notes of your consideration for our work in 2023. Thank you. I invite you to take the seats, because now there is connected Huda Jembanet Halal. Huda, can you hear us?
Yes, hello, I hear you. Do you hear me? Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, Huda.
You hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you very much to WEC Italy for this initiative. We are very glad to join forces once again for an event, and of course the topic you have discussed today is more than a timely topic, and I apologize for not being with you, because at the same time I'm speaking from Cyprus, where we have the EastMed Gas Forum Energy Transition Conference, and I can assure you that what I've been hearing from your discussion is what is being said here in terms of the necessity to foster cooperation and to strengthen cooperation, and many of the different elements you raised. So thank you again to WEC Italy, thank you to my chairman who is with you, and to all the speakers, and to all those who participated. From our side, I mean, what is happening these days is for us, it's a pity of course, but it is a demonstration that security, energy security is a top priority, but this is something that we've been saying for years and years now from OME. If you go back to our first editions of MEP, you will also see that OME was saying we have to take care of energy security, and we have to contribute to the fight of climate change and reach the Paris Agreement. But these goes hand in hand. The two goes hand in hand, and one can only help the other, and they are not competing. Second element is that whatever we look at the future from different perspectives, and the region would still need all technologies, like you said, and natural gas is, by the end of the day, a chance that it is the hydrocarbons which is the cleanest one, which is the most used in the region. So it is rather a chance than the opposite. And when we look at the dynamic of the growth of energy demand because of the demographic economy growth and the socioeconomic growth, so it is quite important to admit that we still need such hydrocarbons, such gas to be in the mix. At OME, as you may know, we've been looking at different scenarios, and we are now in the process of finalizing the specific special issue for MEP, Mediterranean Energy Perspective for WOCOP. And when you look at what would be the impact of for the countries of the Mediterranean region to reach their NDCs, which are the official proposals that the countries are putting on the table to help the Paris Agreement happen. If we look at the conditional NDCs, we will see that still hydrocarbons will play a very important role, and natural gas as well. And we've been going through a decarbonized scenario, but still in such a scenario, we would need natural gas for the Mediterranean region. This is first. Of course, hydrogen will be there more and more. And therefore, the issue of infrastructure is very important as well. But in addition to infrastructure, the issue of financing is a critical issue. And I have to, this morning, Minister Tarek El Molla addressed the financial institution of the European Commission, asking for more realism in order to allow such to the projects to be financed, because it is quite difficult now to have access to financing of natural gas and for the infrastructure. So we need
all technologies. Natural gas will still play a role, hydrogen will contribute, and for sure we need to diversify supply routes, and we need to foster cooperation. Bilateral is good, but if we want to make it to the least cost option and to the benefit of all, for all, we need regional cooperation, because if we look at the different situation, we will see that there are many and interdependency and complementarity. So we need to go together, to work together, and to voice our point of view towards, for instance, the European Commission. So it's good that today WEC and OME is coming with such a conclusion. What we're hearing today in the ministerial meeting is going in the same way. No one will be able to do it by itself. It is impossible. And so we need to work together, we need to find the conditions, we need to work on the regulatory issues, we need to solve the financing issues, and we need to accept that, yes, we would like to go to the energy transition. The Mediterranean has to save its, to reach its targets, but this has to be realistic. Let's be the most ambitious possible, but let's be realistic as well. And we need also to innovation, as you very well explained. So in a nutshell, we need all technologies. Natural gas is here, and we hope that it will still be here. We need it, we like it or not. We need to prepare the future, but we need to make of the short term and the long term friends and not the opposite, and also to, again, strengthen cooperation. So that's what I can share with you for the moment. And I hope that you will be well, because it is not very convenient.
We can see you. Okay, now we can see you. Okay. Okay, are you finishing?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you heard me.
We can see you before, but now we can see you. Okay.
Okay.
If you are finishing,
okay.
please. Excuse
yes,
me.
Sorry. Technology that facilitates, but it doesn't replace the fact that we were being there. So I hope that you. Well, I will stop here. Thank you very much for today evening, and let's continue the discussion to raise our voice toward those who can facilitate making things happen. Thank you to all.
Thank you, Huda. There is a round of applause for your intervention. So thank you. We will try to bring more pragmatism, realism, and also the need for innovation, a message for the need for innovation together with you, with the OME, together with academia, and also national committees in the Mediterranean areas. So thank you again for your collaboration, your continuous collaboration, and also to Chairman, Mr. Chairman from OME Lapo Pistelli, and to all of you that today have followed this seminar. So thank you very much. We are going to close. We hope to have you in the next rounds of Mediterranean dialogues that we will host also abroad, and we will keep you updated. Thank you very much.